Yo, what's going on, guys? Blunt here, and if you just picked up the hood and have absolutely no idea what the hell you're doing, don't worry, because in this video I'm going to be breaking down this entire kit from the ground up. I'm going to be explaining his demonic energy and all of his abilities, damage numbers, his combos, ultimate, and his team-ups, and most importantly, how you're actually supposed to play him in a real match. Because the hood isn't just a vanguard with guns, his entire kit revolves around managing one resource, his demonic energy. So let's break him down. First, let's talk about what the hood actually is. The hood is a vanguard, but don't think of him like Captain America or Groot, where you're just sitting on the front line soaking damage. The hood is much more of a brawler. He wants to get into fights, build demonic energy, and use that energy to enhance his kit, transform into half demon, deal damage, and heal himself, and then get right back out before he gets overwhelmed. So if you like playing aggressively but still want the ability to protect yourself, the hood is probably going to feel really good. Now let's talk about the most important part of the hood's entire kit, demonic energy. You have an energy bar that goes from 0 to 100, and there are basically 3 stages you need to understand. From 0 to 49, you're in a normal state. Once you hit 50 energy, your pistols become faster and your mantle of oblivion gets larger. And once you hit 100 energy, you automatically enter the half demon state, and this is important. You don't want to think about this energy bar like an ultimate meter. It's more of a resource that controls how strong your character is at any given moment. You're constantly building it, spinning fights around it, and deciding when you actually want to hit 100. Now let's talk about his primary fire, Accursed Pistols. The hood's normal pistols deal 26 damage per shot. At close range, that's roughly 130 damage per second if you're constantly hitting body shots. His normal shots also generate demonic energy. Each successful hit gives you about 2 energy. And here's something important. Headshots do not give you extra energy. So whether you're hitting somebody in the body or hitting them in the head, you're still getting the same amount of energy per hit. Now once you hit 50 energy, your weapon changes. Your individual shots do less damage, but your fire rate will increase. So you're trading damage per bullet for a faster weapon. And that gives you roughly 140 DPS. So don't look at 50 energy and think, oh, my bullets just got stronger. They actually hit for less per bullet. You're just firing significantly faster. Now let's talk about what happens when you hit 100 energy. The hood automatically transforms into half demon, your pistols turn into demonic rifles, you get infinite ammunition, your fire rate increases, and you gain lifesteal. This is where the hood becomes extremely dangerous in a fight. You're no longer worried about running out of ammunition, the damage you're dealing is actually sustaining your health. But there's a catch. While you're in half demon state, you lose access to Mantle of Oblivion, and that is extremely important. Because once you transform, you're trading one of your biggest defensive tools for an increased offensive power. So don't just blindly force yourself to 100 energy every time. You need to think about when you actually want the transformation to happen. Next up is Mantle of Oblivion. This is the hood's personal defensive barrier. It has a 10-second cooldown, and it creates a barrier around you that blocks incoming attacks. Below 50 energy, the barrier is smaller. Once you reach 50 energy, it becomes significantly larger. But here's the part that makes its ability really interesting. Blocking damage with Mantle helps generate demonic energy. So you're not just blocking damage, you're converting damage and absorbing it into more energy. So that means you just don't want to randomly throw this ability out because it's available. You want to use it when you know the enemy is about to commit damage onto you. If you absorb a bunch of damage with Mantle, you're essentially charging yourself up for the next power spike. And remember, once you hit 100 energy, you're going into half demon and you lose access to Mantle. So managing this ability and your energy bar together is extremely important. Now we have Abyssal Veil, and honestly this might be one of the most important abilities in the hood's entire kit. When you place the Veil, enemies fighting through it have their damage reduced by about 35%, their healing is also reduced by 20%, and if an enemy actually passes through the Veil, by on purpose or accidentally, they take about 60 damage and get blinded for 1 second. But here's where things get really interesting. You can shoot through your own Veil, and when you do, you're generating significantly more demonic energy per hit. So think about this ability as actually doing more energy. You're creating a defensive barrier, you're reducing the enemy's damage, you're reducing their healing, you're potentially damaging and blinding them, and you're charging your energy faster. And during half demon, it also works with lifesteal. So instead of just throwing this thing at the enemy randomly, you want to think about where you can position it so you can fight through it, while the enemy has to fight against it. Next is Void Walk. This is the hood's mobility ability. It has a 15-second cooldown, gives you about 20 demonic energy, and also deals damage when you finish the ability. But the energy gain is probably the most important part. For example, if I'm sitting at 80 energy, I can activate Void Walk and immediately gain 20 energy. That puts me at 100. And that means I can instantly enter half demon. So Void Walk isn't just an escape, it can actually be the button you use to force a transformation. But you need to be careful. If you use Void Walk to transform aggressively, you've also just used one of your best escape tools. So if you dive the enemy team with it, make sure you actually have a plan to get back out. Okay, let's put everything together now. A basic energy building combo is going to look something like this. Pistols into Abyssal Veil, then shoot through your Veil while using Mantle when the enemy is committing damage to you. You're generating energy from your weapons, generating energy through your veil, and getting even more energy from the damage that you're blocking with your mantle. Once you're around 80 energy, you can start looking for transformation. When you're ready to commit, use Void Walk. 80 energy plus 20, Void Walk puts you into 100, you transform. Now you have demonic rifles, infinite ammo, faster fire, and lifesteal. Then place your veil and fight through it. That is basically the core Hood gameplay loop. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, Demon of the End. Let's talk about his ultimate ability. When you activate it, the Hood enters his demon form and gets 6 shots. These shots can pierce enemies and enemy barriers. The first 5 shots deal around 90 damage, but the 6th and final shot deals around 140 damage. So that last shot is significantly stronger. And your ultimate isn't just about damage. The damage you deal can generate bonus health for you and your teammates. The first 5 shots provide roughly 10% max HP scaling, while the final shot increases that to around 15%. So you're basically doing damage while creating additional survivability for your team. And this is why I wouldn't just spam all 6 shots without thinking. Try to make that final shot count. You want to be hitting an important target, especially if you can hit multiple targets or generate a large amount of bonus health for your team. Now let's quickly talk about the Hood's team-ups. With Scarlet Witch, you get Chaos Collision. This is the more aggressive option. It creates an area that damages enemies and reduces their damage. The really cool part is you can use it as a teleport, so you can place the ability somewhere and then use it to reposition yourself directly into the fight. This gives the Hood a really strong engage option. With Moon Knight, you get Lunar Barrier. This is a more defensive option. Your Abyssal Veil becomes a barrier with its own health, and when it breaks, it damages enemies around it. The Moon Knight team-up also gives the Hood a ricochet effect. So if you're looking for a more defensive utility, more team protection, Moon Knight is the more defensive option and probably the better option. If you want to play aggressively and make plays, Scarlet Witch is the more aggressive option. Now let's talk about who you're actually supposed to be shooting. The Hood isn't supposed to spend the entire game shooting the enemy vanguard. Your first priority should generally be vulnerable, high-value targets, enemy supports, enemy DPS that you can safely pressure, and low-health targets. And obviously, anyone who's completely out of position. But don't chase somebody across the entire map just because they're one shot. Remember, you're still a vanguard. Your job isn't to get every single kill. Your job is to create space, survive pressure, and make the enemy team very uncomfortable. Now we're going to talk about the mistakes that I see people making on the Hood. Number 1, using Mantle randomly. Don't waste your shield when nobody is shooting you. Number 2, wasting Void Walk. If you use it to engage, remember that you just lost one of your best escape tools. So just remember that. Number 3, forcing half demon at the wrong time. 100 energy doesn't mean you automatically should transform immediately. Number 4, standing in the middle of enemy team just because you have lifesteal. Lifesteal doesn't make you immortal. It just makes your survivability a little bit better. And number 5, not shooting through your own Abyssal Veil. If you're not taking advantage of the energy generation and defensive benefits of your Veil, you're leaving a huge part of the Hood's kit just left on the table. Now here's the part that separates a good Hood player from somebody who just knows the abilities. You don't always want to rush 100 energy. Sometimes you actually want to sit around 50 to 80. Why? Because you still have access to Mantle. You can keep building energy while maintaining your defensive tools. Then when you're ready to commit, you push yourself to 100. This means you're constantly asking yourself, do I need defense right now? Do I need to transform? Do I need to save Void Walk? Do I have to escape after I transform? And that's what makes the Hood a really interesting vanguard. You're just not managing cooldowns, you're managing your energy, defensive abilities, your transformation, and your positioning at the same time. It's actually kind of difficult. Now let me show you what this looks like in an actual fight. I'm starting around 70 energy. I'm not going to immediately transform, I'm going to use my Veil and start applying pressure. I'm building energy while I'm fighting. Now I'm getting close to 80. This is where I'm looking for my opening. I see the enemy team's committing. I use Void Walk. That gives me 20 energy I need. Now I'm at 100. Half Demon activates. I place my Veil, and now I'm shooting through it. I'm dealing damage, generating sustained health, and then forcing the enemy to fight through my defensive setup. And once my transformation is ending, I'm not going to stay there and die. I'm going to disengage, rebuild my energy, and start the cycle again. And that's how you should be thinking when you're playing the Hood. And that's basically everything you need to know to start playing the Hood. If this guide helped you understand the character better, drop a like and follow because I'm going to be breaking down more Marvel Rivals characters, mechanics, and advanced tech. And if you want me to make a part 2 covering the Hood's exact combos, damage numbers, and advanced tech, let me know in the comments. Appreciate everything. See ya.